Hey chummers, welcome to episode 5 of the Toronto Travel Guide, where I give players and game masters a look at the locations you might encounter in the Shadowrun 6th World campaign, 30 Nights. 30 Nights is set in the UCAS city of Toronto, and in this video we'll take a look at North York, Thornhill, and Scarborough. This video should be spoiler free and is intended to give everyone an idea of the different locations mentioned in 30 Nights. Also, as I mentioned in previous videos, just like there are buildings that we use today that have been around for 60 years or more, many of these locations will probably be around in the 6th World, but will probably look a little bit different. This is just to give you guys an idea of what they look like and hopefully make it so that you have a better gaming experience. So, I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. So, this is the city of Toronto, again, located in the northwest of Lake Ontario, near the border with the United States. And let's start off with North York. Now, as I've mentioned before, we do try to reference everything off of our entertainment district in the CN Tower, which is down south here on the shoreline. So as you can see, North York sits here towards, obviously, the north of the city. Now, it is, the way that 30 Nights describes it is that it is effectively a mirror of the city itself. It has a business district located here in Willowdale, an airport, which is, I believe, over here. We'll get into it. A major university up here in York, a major shopping center, luxury housing, and corporate housing. So let's actually look at each of these sections, and we'll start with Willowdale. So the business district centers here along Yonge Street, and let's take a look. It's obviously got some good sized high rises, plenty of food. We can see the main portion of the city. Clearly an older picture of the city. Good old Canadian snow. Parks, lakes, fountains. All the typical things you'd expect. I do find it interesting that they have pictures of what looks like the shoreline, but I'm not quite sure where that is unless it's over here along that. But I don't think so for some reason. Let's see. Our next one is Downsview, where we have the Downsview Airport. In Shadowrun, the Downsview Airport is more of a research and testing facility. As you can tell, there's Bombardier Aerospace. I'd be kind of surprised if they didn't still exist in some fashion. You've got a train yard over here on the eastern side of the airport. There's some good pictures of the airport here. So clearly, Bombardier sends quite a few test flights out of here for new airplanes, sorry. We've got our CN Tower here in the background. Airport in winter. definitely would make a great setting for Shadowrun. All right, we've got York University. It's located here in the northwest portion of North York. We've got the CN Tower down here. It is a research university. I will admit, though, in our compared to our previous universities, it is not as exciting to look at. Doesn't make it a bad thing, but definitely looks a little plain. Interesting pieces of art. Attached to a subway. Canada Gooses. But as I said, kind of plain, but it is a major university, so there's definitely that. Not sure what happened to our screen, but now in Shadowrun, they talk about the Yorkdale Megaplex for shopping, which is probably based off this Yorkdale Shopping Center, which appears to be a bit of an average mall. Looks like it's just south of the airport. So almost a straight shot from the CN Tower. So I don't think we'll see anything too fancy or unique about the mall, but obviously make it bigger, more corporate. You know, not necessarily an area that the Shadowrunners are going to hang out, but great desserts. Now I'm hungry. Definitely seems a bit more upscale, at least in the early 21st century. Sorry if I end up going through some of these too quickly. But it's a mall. All right. Next, we've got Hoggs Hollow, which is a luxury area. Per Wikipedia, it is one of the most affluent neighborhoods in Toronto. It is located along the Don River, which, as we know, is highly polluted in the world of Shadowrun, but still a nice place to go running. That is named after the Hogg family. James Hogg settled in the area in 1824. For those of you old-timers like myself, wonder if he's related to Boss Hogg. That's pretty fancy. Definitely upscale apartments, parks. There's our river. Definitely a gorgeous, gorgeous part of the, just gorgeous piece of land, period. I wonder how it would be changed in Shadowrun. All right, and the last area that we have for North York is Bathurst Manor. As I said, this is more for corporate drones. You know, so up here along the western edge, not too far from Hoggs Hollow itself. Definitely not upper class housing, but looks like a decent place to live. Cemetery, giant apartments. At least I'm assuming those are apartments. Back down by the CN Tower. Not sure how that got in here. Closer to the lake. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll skip those. All right, now on the western edge of North York, we have Jane and Finch. Now in Shadowrun, this is more along the lines of what you would call the Barrens. So basically an area that is, you know, either unmonitored or unregulated by, you know, either security or police services, such as Lone Star, Knight Errant. In Shadowrun, they say that many of the sinless, or those without system identification numbers, live in this area. And because of it, there is also a high amount of drugs, gangs, and other vices throughout the area. Gangs effectively control the area, even though it actually comes up to the boundary with York University. The book doesn't go into it, but it implies that there is some sort of agreement between the gangs and the university, basically to leave the university alone. But that's Jane and Finch, so good area per the book to, well, not necessarily a good area, but an easy area to base the runners out of, because it's a place they'd be able to at least find and secure housing without having to fight for it too much. All right, and then our last area in North York, well, actually I guess it would be just north of North York, is Thornhill. Now, Thornhill, according to the book, is rather peaceful. However, it is also controlled by the Triads. So, as long as you're on the good side of the Triads, it's generally not a problem to live here. Let's take a look at it. Definitely looks middle to above average. Kind of reminds me of my neighborhood. Got some high rises, of course. Kind of funny what kind of pictures you'll find at times on the internet. Plenty of snow. All right. And with that, we get into our last area, which is going to be Scarborough. Scarborough. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure how they say it. But Scarborough is basically this entire section over here on the eastern edge of the city. We've got our entertainment district down here, so obviously follow the shoreline along, and there's Scarborough. It is the largest district of the city. It also receives the largest amount of immigrants. Per 30 nights, it has a high number of arcologies, known as scarcologies. And so let's take a look at some of the zones they highlight. The first one's going to be this one here, Agincourt. According to the book, very diverse. Lots of different restaurants. Kind of a small little section of the city. And apparently not really any pictures. Let's switch over to our satellite view, see if we can get a better idea of it. And it mostly looks average middle class area. All right, so next area is Markham. What I was able to find was Markham Eglinton, so it's this intersection right here. Obviously, they've got a Walmart. I wonder who owns Walmart in Shadowrun. That would be interesting to follow up on. Looks pretty average. It's like sand cliffs. More Canada gooses. I don't think we're getting much else out of that one. Now, the book does describe Markham as being the mafia stronghold of Toronto. So if you want to fight some Italians, or Italian aligned, I guess I should say, definitely hit this section of the city. Our next area is the Toronto Zoo. It doesn't give a whole lot of background on the zoo. Clearly it is very large. Apologize for not getting it prepared a little earlier. So the zoo is... We've got the CN Tower down here and our zoo up here. But let's satellite the zoo. Which... I wonder how much of this green area is zoo and how much of it is just parkland. Because it clearly splits Toronto from Pickering. The book does not go into Pickering at all, so we're going to skip that. Alright, looks like our zoo is a smaller area. think the rules for this zoo are going to be pretty similar to the zoo from High Park. Mostly normal creatures, but a few different paranormal creatures as well. I don't think we'll see any pictures of that through our Google search, though. Pandas and polar bears and fish. I don't think those fish are native to Canada. Hippopotamus. I wonder how they adapt the hippos to the zoo in the cold. Mountain goats. Looks like the park's got a lot of big open areas. Looks like a rescued rhino. Interesting piece of art. All right. And our last area, I could not find a modern reference to it, and that was the Malvern Sports University. So Malvern is here, just west of the zoo. But I couldn't find anything really to use for that. The closest I found was there it is, the Malvern Community Center. But the book describes the Malvern Sports University as a massive training area for all sorts of athletes. It also implies that there is a lot of performance enhancing going on. So that could also be pretty interesting for your Shadowruns. Are people being experimented on? Are things being experimented with? All sorts of things to test. So, but that effectively ends the main look at the Toronto Travel Guide. This has all been from the section geared for players and game masters alike. Now, I will be continuing to make a couple of more travel guides, but those may contain spoilers. So if you are a player, might want to avoid them. Game masters, obviously, if you find it useful and you want your players to check it out, please definitely give them a recommendation. I will definitely mark those with a spoiler warning, though. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. Please give the channel a like and subscribe. And, obviously, please leave any comments in the down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them as best I can. But thanks for watching.